It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Petco Park in San Diego, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday night to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Padres, their fifth meeting of the year. They've split the previous four. For the Dodgers, a challenge. Their last 10 series against San Diego, they either won or split. But by losing last night, they are faced with a serious threat of not winning a series and not splitting it as well. For the Dodgers, they'll send Josh Beckett to the mound. Beckett is better on the road than he is at home. He is 4-4, but 3-1 on the road. The last time that Josh Beckett faced San Diego was back in 2013. He was pitching for the Boston Red Sox. On the mound for San Diego, big Tyler Ross at 6'6", big man out of Oakland. He has 6 wins and 6 losses, 0-2 against the Dodgers. Dodgers beat him earlier this year. He's inclined to be wild. He has 6 wild pitches, and he has also walked 7 in his last start. Dodgers blow a big opportunity last night. They still trail the Giants by 4. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Their way into Petco Park in hopes that the Dodgers can take Game 2 from the San Diego Padres and hopefully ensure a series victory with a win tomorrow on Sunday. Welcome inside Petco Park, everybody. I'm Alana Rizzo. A quick update for you on third baseman Juan Uribe. Good news, he is close to returning to the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is continuing his rehab assignment. In fact, he will play 7 innings tonight for Rancho Cucamonga. He's been out since May 20th, so he's missed the last 6 weeks dealing with that strained right hamstring, and he's really been a big bat for the Dodgers this season when he's on the field. 40 games played, a .303 average, 4 long balls. You can see it there. 18 runs driven in. He will play 7 innings tonight and come back here to San Diego tomorrow to be evaluated. If everything goes as planned and he doesn't have any setbacks, He figures to be activated for the Kansas City series starting on Monday for the Dodgers. Tonight, however, in Game 2, Josh Beckett on the hill. Drew Butera behind the plate. These two got together and had a no-hitter earlier. What will happen tonight? After the break, the legendary Vince Scully on the call. Dodger baseball right after this.
Wherever you may be, we're here at Petco Park. Matt Kemp is busy signing autographs, and the Dodgers and the Padres just moments away from starting Game 2 of the 3-game series. Matt Kemp, by the way, will come into the game with an 8-game hitting streak, and he's batting .452 during the streak. So his signature worth a lot right about now as we await the Padres to take the field and get the ball game underway. Yasiel Puig, whom we saw limp slightly last night coming off the field, is back in the lineup again tonight, and we'll show you why he's limping at all as we take a look at the lineup. D. Gordon leads off at second base, followed by Hanley Ramirez. He has a 7-game hitting streak at shortstop. Yasiel Puig, a 5-game streak, hitting in right field. Adrian Gonzalez at first base, Matt Kemp in left, Andre Ethier in center, Justin Turner at third, Drew Butera catching tonight, so A.J. Ellis will catch tomorrow, and Josh Beckett on the mound. And on the mound for San Diego, a big drink of water, Tyler Ross, 6'6". Tyler out of Oakland, checks in about 230 pounds, throws hard. He has 6 wild pitches. He has also struck out 90. He has lost in his starts. He is 6-6. And of late, Padres have lost 5 of the last 6 starts that he has made. 0-1 against the Dodgers this year, 0-2 lifetime. For the big guy wearing number 38, when he first started, he wore number 66 because he used to play Little League on 66th Street, night near the ballpark in Oakland. So when he faces Yasiel Puig and sees that 66, that'll bring back some memories indeed. So it's the Dodgers and the Padres, 5th meeting of the year. They've split 4. And we'll take a look at a Padre defense that has brought them a 3-game winning streak up to here, trying to win their 4th for the 2nd time this year. Tommy Medica, followed by Jace Peterson, then Everett Cabrera and Alexei Amarista on the infield. with Goldberg making his big league debut in a starting role. Jake came in as a pinch hitter, had a base hit last night. Then you have Will Venable and Seth Smith and Rene Rivera handling Tyler Ross. In fact, when Tyler Ross pitches, he prefers to pitch to Rene Rivera, and when Rivera has caught him, his earned run average is 2.9. So here is D. Gordon, and off we go. Right hand is first pitch, fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. The crew chief, Ted Barrett, has had 18 years in the big leagues, will be calling balls and strikes. On a beautiful evening, 68 degrees, Gordon takes a look at another strike, and the count 0-2. Last time Ross pitched, he walked 7, so the Dodgers perhaps want to make sure he'll throw strikes. 68 degrees, beautiful evening. And the 0-2 pitch swung on and fouled away. The only real difference from last night and tonight, last night it was 69 degrees and we had a solid blue canopy. Tonight it's blue with a lot of clouds skidding around, but another lovely evening here in San Diego. Dodgers have either won or split 10 straight series here in San Diego, but by losing game 1, they're in some trouble to keep that thing alive. Meanwhile, Gordon swings and misses, strikes out, and just like that, 1 away. So Tyler Ross, who grew up an Oakland fan, grew up also playing just down the road from the Oakland Coliseum. He went on to the University of California and majored in American Studies. Tyler now facing Hanley Ramirez, who brings up, among other things, a 7-game hitting streak. He's hit .320 during the streak and hitting .262 for the year. With 11 home runs, 42 runs batted in. Ramirez had a base hit and a walk last night and lost a hit on a nice one-hand leaping catch by Jace Peterson. So Hanley trying to get aboard. Yasiel Puig on deck. 1 out, first inning just starting. Goldberg, Venable, and Smith respectfully deep, and they kind of pinch the middle a little bit as Hanley swings, doesn't get it, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. So they will give Hanley pretty much straight away down the lines in left and right, but they're protecting the middle, which of course is the secret in this ballpark. It is a pitcher's park, big, and normally on the damp side the ball doesn't carry that well. 1-1 pitch on the way is fouled off. 1-2 the count. And for Tyler Ross, he has started off throwing hard at 94. Ross, among other things, is very high up, going 3-0 on hitters. We mentioned he has 6 wild pitches. He also goes 0-2 on a lot of hitters, so he's somewhat of an extreme right-hander. Big guy looks in, gets a sign from Rivera. 1-2 pitch is punched just fair over first and down the line. Ramirez on his way for 2. Seth Smith up with it, left hands it back to the infield. So Hanley Ramirez jammed and hits it over first base and down the line for a double. For the double, of course, that's become a Dodger trademark. Believe it or not, the Dodgers now have had 147 doubles. So Ramirez at second with 1 out. Yasiel Puig coming up. Last night, if you were watching, I'm sure you caught the idea that Puig was limping a little bit coming off, and it goes back to a game in Colorado trying to break up a double play. He went in hard on his right hip, and he was limping, and last night finally had to come out of the game. We assumed it was his left leg. It turns out that he's had a spasm in the left hip, but he's right back in the lineup, and a little 5-game hitting streak. Ross looks at second, comes over the top in the dirt. Nice block by Rivera. As we said, when Ross sees Puig 66, he's got to think of his days at Little League on 66th Street. Tyler Ross can think about a lot of things. He has tied up left-hand batters. They're hitting only .208. If you go after his first pitch, the opposition is hitting only .205. So Tyson Ross at the belt, ready in the 1-0 pitch on the way to Yasiel Puig. Inside, 2 balls and no strikes. So that's the way he is. He was down in the dirt and away, and the next pitch was up and way inside. So Ross behind 2-0. As far as the Dodgers and Tyson Ross, Puig, 1 home run against him, the only home run the Dodgers have against the big right-hander. Yasiel batting .400 against him, 2 for 5. Ross comes back, and did he hit him? If he didn't, boy, it almost took the hair off his arms. That was too close for comfort, and Puig just did get out of the way. So when you come in with a reputation of being wild, the hitters are thinking about that, and he almost got Yasiel, about as close as you can come. 3-0, and he had to get that sore left hip out of the way. Ross straightens up out of his stretch. Ramirez at second with 1 out. 3-0 pitch to Yasiel is taken for a strike, down and on the outside corner. Last night, a rather important giant step for Puig in the 5th inning. He came up with runners at second and third. The count went to 3-0. Mattingly green lighted him, and he got a base hit to drive in the 2 runs. Now it's a 3-1 count, and Puig waits. Tyson at the belt, and his 3-1 pitch swung on and fouled off. 3-2. Another thing about Tyson Ross, he is very much of a ground ball pitcher. I mean very much, almost 3-1. That makes him number 1 in the league. And because he is such a ground ball pitcher, he gets a lot of double plays. He's had 15 turn behind him. 3-2 the count to Yasiel Puig. Tyson looks in, checking. Right-hander has walked 40 and striking out 90. 3-2 pitch, fastball fouled off. So he's still there. Anywhere from 88 to 94. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Tyson Ross had a pickup nickname. They called him T. Ross and also Zongo. His mother has been a longtime nurse in an emergency room at Children's Hospital in Oakland. So Tyson straightens up. Ramirez at second with 1 out. And the 3-2 pitch to Puig is swung on. Ground ball to third. Nice pick there by Amarista. Throws to first in time for the out. And Puig ran down the line full speed. With the ball hit ahead of him, Ramirez had to stay at second base. So Yasiel hits the ball hard. Amarista makes a good play. The Padres have lost 2 regulars. Carlos Quentin did come off the bench last night. And Quentin, in the 9th inning, had a key double. He's got a bad knee. Amarista is playing third base because Chase Headley has a disc problem in his back. So 2 out. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Adrian last night doubled into left field. He also had a sacrifice fly. Ross ready to come to him. There's a 1-hopper at short, fielded nicely by Cabrera to get him, and the Dodgers leave Ramirez at second base. No runs, a hit, a man left at the end of half an inning. Dodgers nothing. Padres coming up. streak, but the Dodgers leave Hanley at second base. So here we go in the bottom of the first inning for the Padres, and we'll take a look at their lineup. Will Venable will lead off in center field, followed by Everett Cabrera, the shortstop. Seth Smith, who virtually ruined the Dodgers last night, in right field. Tommy Medica at first, Rene Rivera the catcher, Jake Gobert in left, Alexa Amarista at third, Jace Peterson the second baseman, Tyson Ross on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, it will be Josh Beckett. He is 4-4, but he's much better on the road. 3-1 away from Dodger Stadium. His first pitch to Venable is low, ball 1-0. Beckett, a veteran indeed. He has over 2,000 innings, 2,015 to be exact. Gets a strike on the outside corner, and the count 1-1. Will Venable, out of Greenbrae, California, lives in Phoenix, went to school at Princeton. Big curveball fouled off, and that runs the count to 1-2. Venable last night came off the bench and doubled after grounding out as a pinch hitter. Stayed in the game and had the key double. He punches one to the right side. D. Gordon is on it, gets rid of it in a hurry, and Venable taps out. So one down here in the first inning, and the batter Everett Cabrera. We can take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. The outfield of Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, and Yasiel Puig. The infield, Justin Turner, Hanley Ramirez, D. Gordon, and Adrian Gonzalez. And the battery, Drew Butera, handling Josh Beckett. By the way, they're talking about Juan Uribe being here tomorrow, so that's another interesting step. Meanwhile, Everett Cabrera, switch hitter, batting left-handed, takes low, ball 1. It was Cabrera who was 0 for 4 on ground balls last night. Came up in the 9th inning and had the sacrifice fly to right field to pick up Venable with the winning run. Everett fouls it off. 1 strike. Switch hitter from Nicaragua, 5'10", about 180. Originally signed by the Rockies. Never made it with Colorado and came up to the Padres in 2009. 1-1 pitch on the way. Cabrera looks and it's off the plate. 2-1 the count. Cabrera with Seth Smith, left-hand hitting outfielder, on deck. 2-1 pitch is fouled away, and the count 2-2. Nice crowd on hand tonight. Padres have been averaging 25,000 a game. They had 31,000 last night, a bigger crowd tonight. Of course, when the Dodgers come in town, they always increase the average. It's almost 30,000 now. The next pitch, slow curveball low. So 3-2 the count to Everett Cabrera with Smith on deck. Cabrera in and out of the box. Smith, the quiet man from Mississippi, on deck. Cabrera back in and takes ball 4. So with 1 out, Beckett walks Cabrera, and that's a dangerous thing to do, the way Seth Smith is swinging the bat, especially against the Dodgers. Seth Smith last night hit one and deep in the first inning over the sand pile, 435 feet away. Next time they got it up, and he pulled that thing deep in the right field seats. Seth Smith has a total of 8 home runs this year, and 4 of the 8 have been struck against the Dodgers, against whom he's batting a cool .600. Overall, .291. So Smith waiting, big curveball, that's in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Seth is from Jackson, Mississippi, originally drafted by the Rockies, went to the University of Mississippi, came up with the Rockies, hit as many as 17 home runs over there. Then he went to the Oakland A's, and now he's here. Strike 1 pitch on the way to Seth, and that's outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Even though it would appear he crowds the plate a little bit, he's a formidable figure. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. Backed up Eli Manning at Ole Miss when he played football. You pitch inside and he will crush it. The 1-1 pitch on the way to Seth Smith. Beckett set, looks over his shoulder at Cabrera, still looking. Time. Cabrera has stolen 13 out of 19, so it's a good idea to keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, over in Arizona, last night Arizona did everything right and beat the Giants. Tonight, Vogelsong against Brandon McCarthy, and the Giants scored 3 in the first inning. Another big breaking ball in for a strike, and they count 1-2. Seth Smith trying to rally in the first inning, backs off, and the curveball gets the inside corner. In the Seattle series just concluded, Smith was 2 for 12, 4 for 11 during their homestand, and the 1-2 pitch coming up. Beckett ready. There goes Cabrera. The pitch is outside. The throw and tag. Got him, and what a play by Hanley Ramirez. The throw was sailing towards right center field, and Gutierrez's throw was speared by Hanley just as Cabrera was going into the bag, and Hanley looked like he tagged him on the buttocks. So Cabrera going head first and flying across the tag, on the left hip, and Cabrera is nailed. Bud Black is going to go out and argue. The Padre manager thinks that Cabrera's hand was on the bag before the tag. Though we will have a discussion. Black, meanwhile, will look in the dugout to see whether he should take it further. Dave Roberts is on the phone, and he'll give the skipper yes or no. Well, Dave hasn't turned around, so the answer must be no. Don't argue. So Cabrera is thrown out trying to steal. Good throw by Drew Butera, and a great tag by Hanley Ramirez. Shortstop covering, of course, with a left-hand hitter at the plate. So 2 down, first inning, no score. Seth Smith up there, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Smitty waits, swings at the next pitch, and fouls it off. Seth Smith started playing sports about 4 years old. Played soccer and t-ball. Then later on advanced to big-time baseball and big-time football. He was originally drafted by Arizona, but he opted to go to Ole Miss instead. 2-2 pitch. Seth takes on the outside corner. So Beckett is pitching away from his strength, and that slow curveball on the outside part hangs him up. So no runs, no hits, nobody left, and at the end of an inning, no score. Go second inning, no score with the Dodgers and Padres. smooth sailing on the water. And for the Dodgers, it got very choppy here last night in the bottom of the 9th inning. A lot of Dodger blue here. The youngsters and Dad taking all the action in. Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, and Justin Turner coming up in that order. Matt Kemp had 1 hit last night and then struck out 3 times. Big chopper to third, fair ball, and Amarista will throw him out. So Matt Kemp taps to third, 1 away in the 2nd inning. The batter will be Andre Ethier. Tyson Ross, the big right-hander. We told you his mom is a longtime nurse in an emergency room. His father, a pediatrician. They had 3 children and got a little crowded in the house. And as he said, just like the Paul Simon lyrics, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. When his grandmother moved out, he got the bedroom downstairs. And then years later, Tyson and his younger brother Joe were separated by a single wall, and that was a divider in the Padres clubhouse. Ground ball to Amarista, and that'll do it for Andre Ethier. 2 down in the 2nd inning. Yeah, they were both in the Padre organization. They were in the minor leagues. Tyson, the right-hand pitcher, and Joe still growing, a 20-year-old right-hander. So maybe one day they will be reunited with the Padres. Meanwhile, Justin Turner coming up, and the report from Don Mattingly about Juan Uribe is pretty encouraging. Don said that Uribe is playing tonight. He'll come to San Diego tomorrow. We will see where he is at. We're thinking activation would be more likely in Kansas City. We'll see. First pitch to Justin Turner in the dirt, kicks away. 1 ball and no strikes. Turner has done an admirable job hitting .294, 3 home runs, 19 runs batted in, filling in at the hot corner. And the 1-0 pitch on the way, fastball high, ball 2, 2-0. So you're up against a 6'6" right-hander who throws hard and wild. It's a psychological battle as well as a physical one. And the 2-0 pitch on the way is taken for a strike. At this early hour, the lights have not really taken effect, and it's not as bright in the ballpark as we said. There are more clouds, several of them moving in from the water off to our left. The 2-1 pitch, and that's on the outside corner. Turner can't believe the call. Turns to question it to Ted Barrett. Then has that half smile on his face as if saying, "You gotta be kidding." Barrett will take that, but not much more than that. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Ross comes back, and it's probably sliced slightly to right center, but coming over is Venable to make the catch. And the Dodgers go 1-2-3. So Ross has retired 5 in a row, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. work. Bottom of the second inning, no score in the ball game. Took 16 pitches, retired the side in the first inning. And of course, Josh Beckett of no-hit fame, although certainly it's been eclipsed by Kershaw's masterpiece. But Beckett didn't do badly at all that day in Philadelphia. Josh Reddy now working to Medica, and the first pitch low, ball one. Tommy Medica from San Jose went to Santa Clara, drafted by the Padres 4 years ago, went to Bellarmine High School in San Jose. Homered in his major league debut. That was back last year in September. Right hand batter flinches, takes a strike, and a 1-ball 1-strike count indeed. Medica 6'1", 190, 26 years old, and has been in the Padre organization 2010, came up briefly last year. The 1-1 pitch on the way to Tommy. Beckett always deliberate, both feet on the rubber. That day in Philadelphia, no hits. Josh walked 3 and struck out 6. Made 128 pitches. Medica, meanwhile, lifts one back of first down the line. A trio of Dodgers, and it's Puig making the catch. So Medica, a fly ball to right, and 1 down. Clayton Kershaw on June the 18th threw his first no-hitter. Kershaw's next scheduled home start Sunday, June 29. And to celebrate the 22nd no-hitter in franchise history, Dodgers will be offering a limited amount of $22 tickets for this game to honor number 22. So purchase your tickets today at Dodgers.com/no-hitter. So Clayton sits back, takes in the ball game, and Rene Rivera coming up. The backup catcher came in as a pinch hitter last night, got a bunt down, and that aided and abetted the comeback victory. So Rene Rivera, he's out of Bayamon in Puerto Rico, right-hand batter, swings at a curveball, high fly ball, playable. Matt Kemp is at the other end of it, and just like that, 2 fly balls and 2 out. We told you that right-hander Tyson Ross is a ground ball pitcher. Of the Dodgers' 6 outs, there have been 4 ground balls. So now Jake Gobert coming up. Tyson Ross walking to the far end of the dugout. Young Gobert called up, made his debut last night in the 5th inning, batting for Ian Kennedy, and single to right to drive in a run. It's a line drive that lands in front of Ethier. So as far as Gobert is concerned, how long has this been going on? I'm 2 for 2 in the big leagues. Gobert is the boy who works on the farm. You know how you talk about entertainment. He calls the farm agritainment because it's a farm that is open for about 6 weeks every year, in hay rides, a pumpkin patch, a petting zoo, wagon rides, and he has a big grin, as he should have. He'll be 27 in September, though he has a 2-out single, and Alexi Amarista, the third baseman, at the plate. Beckett's first pitch seemed to slip. Might have been a change that got away. 1 ball and no strikes. No score. Amarista is 5'7", 150 from Barcelona, but it's Barcelona, Venezuela. The 1-0 pitch on the way is off the plate. 2 balls and no strikes. Amarista had a game against the Dodgers last year, knocked in 4. He was always discouraged, or they tried to discourage him because of his size, and he finally figured he was done with baseball when he was about 16 years old. Got tired of people telling him you're too short to play. So Amarista backs out. He's only 25 years old, and he was originally signed by the Angels. The pitch to Amarista, a one-hopper speared by Ramirez. His play is to first in time, and that'll be that. No runs, 1 hit, and a man left. Good play by Ramirez to plug up the middle. And at the end of 2, no score. Dodgers coming up. Drew Butera, Josh Beckett, and D. Gordon against Tyson Ross. We can also tell you the Giants are giving Brandon McCarthy and the D-backs a very bad time. 4-0 Giants in the second inning. So Butera checks in. Right-hand hitting catcher has a look at a strike, and we're underway. 0-1. Butera has done a good job corralling base runners. He's nailed 7 of 20. And the strike one pitch sprayed foul upstairs off first base. 0-2 the count to Drew Butera. When Josh Beckett pitched his no-hitter in Philadelphia, Drew Butera was the catcher. And it was the second no-hitter that Drew has caught in his career. 3 years ago, he handled Francisco Liriano. 0-2 the count. Tyson Ross on the edge, first base side of the rubber, and his strike two pitch, fastball loop to center, coming up in a hurry is Venable, but he'll have to play it on a bounce. So Butera nudges one into center, and that'll bring up Josh Beckett. Butera able to just nudge that ball into shallow center. Venable had to play it on the bounce. Now Josh Beckett. Beckett has 2 sacrifices. We'll see if the Dodgers want him to bunt. Amarista in on the grass at third. Medica ready to push off at first. Josh shows bunt. Tyson's pitch is bunted up along the chalk, foul on its way towards first base. No balls and 1 strike. No score. Dodgers had a 1-out double by Hanley Ramirez, but Puig and Gonzalez grounded out. Cabrera walked in the first inning. He was thrown out trying to steal. In the second inning, Gobert had a base hit, but Amarista grounded out. So we're scoreless third inning. Tyson Ross leans in to get a sign. And the strike one pitch coming up. Beckett shows bunt, pulls the bat back, and the pitch inside. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Ross waiting for Beckett. No score in the ball game. Top of the third. Butera very short lead at first. Beckett again squared around the bunt and gets it down. It's a good bunt. Medica picks it up. The out recorded at first, and on the sacrifice, Butera goes to second base. So Josh Beckett's 3rd sacrifice of the year, and with a runner at second and 1 out, D. Gordon and Hanley Ramirez trying to pick him up. D. Gordon struck out in the first inning. Padres are not sure about whether he'll try to bunt for a base hit. So Medica is about even with the bag at first. Amarista has his feet right on the edge of the grass at third. Outfield about straight away and pretty shallow. And Gordon at the plate. Tyson Ross out of a stretch, set at the belt. 6'6" right-handed fastball is a hopper by the diving Cabrera. And here comes Butera to score. Gordon coming up with an RBI, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. D. Gordon's 22nd run batted in. Scott Van Slyke gesturing to Gordon. John Valentin talking to him, and the high fives to Butera in the dugout. So D. Gordon, clutch base hit, run batted in. Now there'll be extra pressure on Tyson Ross with Gordon at first. D, as you know, has stolen 38 bases. So Butera brings the run in. Ross leans in to get a sign. Boy, the Dodger fans are really alive and vocal here. Ross straightens up. Gordon takes his lead. He goes, a pitch out. Rene Rivera's throw is off the glove of Peterson. On his feet is Gordon, and he's into third base. So D. Gordon not only drives in a run, he then promptly steals second base and advances to third base on the throwing error charged to Rene Rivera. So Gordon is the man. His dad might have had the nickname Flash, but he's like a lightning bolt as he wakes up the Dodgers and the Dodger fans here. Up and at him is D and into third. So he's now stolen 39 out of 45. That makes the infield have to play up. Ramirez is the batter, followed by Yasiel Puig. Tyson Ross out of a stretch. Boy, you hear the Dodger fans right now. And there's a high fly ball into right center. Charging is Venable. Tagging is Gordon. Good throw to the plate, but Gordon is safe. And the Dodgers lead 2-0. And the Dodger fans are not only visible, they are ecstatic. So D. Gordon can do it all. Boy, it sounded like we were at Dodger Stadium when Ramirez came up. The Dodger fans here were making so much noise. So Ramirez, a fly ball to center. Gordon beats the throw by Will Venable. Hanley picks up a run batted in. For Ramirez, he now has 43 RBIs. Thanks to the speed of D. Gordon, the Dodgers steal a run and lead 2-0. So the batter now, Yasiel Puig. Puig grounded to third sharply in the first inning. He takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Puig has a slight strain in the left hip, but he's playing. He takes low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Don Mattingly in his press conference said, "We don't want to take away his spirited play, but I don't want him crashing into walls when the ball is 8 rows up into the bleachers." 1-1 pitch on the way. Yasiel handcuffed, little dribbler. Ross comes down to get it and throws him out. But the Dodgers, thanks to speed, the old story as Hanley Ramirez hugs D. Gordon, speed never has a slump. And at the end of 2.5 innings, 2-0 Dodgers. For D. Gordon, first of all, he gets a base hit to drive in a run, steals second, goes to third on the throwing error, tags and scores. Interestingly enough, as he went to his position, he looked at the second base umpire, Will Little, and pointed to his head. And then, after a couple of warm-up throws before the inning began, he again went out and talked to Will Little, and for the second time, pointed to his head. Though I'm not quite sure what that's all about. He certainly stole second without a problem. Meanwhile, 1 ball, 1 strike count to Jace Peterson, Jace, that first name. He's from Moss Bluff, Louisiana, went to McNeese State, another outstanding athlete. Peterson, left-hand batter, chases one down, foul tips and strikes out. Last night he struck out 3 times, so he's now been blown away 4 times in the series. One away in the 3rd inning. That will also be the 2nd strikeout for Josh Beckett. When the Dodgers come up in the 4th inning, Gonzalez, Kemp, and Ethier. When D. Gordon scores for the Dodgers, that is always a very good sign, and it's backed up statistically. When Gordon scores a run, the Dodgers are 22-10. When he does not score, they are 13-24. So what D does is extremely important. Dodgers lead 2-0. Now the next pitch down and away to Ross. It gives you that big strike zone at 6 feet 6 inches, 230 pounds. He does have 3 hits. Ross has had 24 at bats, and he has struck out 9 times. Takes a strike, and that balances things. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tomorrow is the concluding game of the series. Hyun-Jin Ryu and former Dodger Eric Stultz. Ross, meanwhile, chasing a bad ball, strikes out and becomes strikeout number 3 for Josh Beckett. As we mentioned, when Beckett had his no-hitter against Philadelphia, he walked 3 and struck out 6. So 2 out. Will Venable, the center fielder, coming up, grounded out in the 1st inning. Venable hitting .207, 2 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Beckett ready and fires, and he's low, ball 1, 1-0. And looking at Josh Beckett's work against the Padres and vice versa, Venable has a home run against him, hitting .333. Venable has the only home run hit by a Padre against Beckett, who picks up a strike to even it up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bottom of the 2nd inning, Arizona trying to come to life. They were down 4-0. It's now Giants 4, Arizona 2. Ryan Vogelsong apparently struggling, not quite as much as Brandon McCarthy. 1-1 the count to Will Venable. The 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and pulled foul out of play. Will's dad, Max, played 12 years in the big leagues for the Giants, the Expos, the Reds. He's now a coach in the Reds organization. His brother Winston played football for Boise State and then played for the Chicago Bears. Will's mother was a college basketball player at Dominican University, so he has a great athletic background. Venable went to school at Princeton and played basketball very well for them, for the Princeton Tigers. 2-2 change is pulled foul, so it's still 2-2 to Will Venable. By the way, Princeton has produced 25 players who played in the big leagues. 2-2 to Will Venable. Dodgers lead 2-0, bottom of the 3rd. 2 out, bases empty. Beckett taking a lot of time, and Venable backs out. When Venable graduated from Princeton, he got his degree, as he swings and misses. He got a degree in anthropology. But down he goes, striking out the side is Beckett to give him 4. Puts on a show. First he takes care of Peterson, then he wraps up the big pitch of Ross, and for good measure, see you later, Will Venable. And the 3-2 Dodgers. Dodgers and Cardinals, and the first 50,000 kids 14 and under in attendance receive an Adrian Gonzalez replica jersey, compliments of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions today. Cardinals are coming, and they're coming for 4. And then the Cleveland Indians. Clouds moving in off the ocean. Temperature no doubt dropping a degree or two, but it's not bad. And into the 4th inning we go. 2-0 Dodgers. Ball 1 to Adrian Gonzalez. Just thinking the changes down here. Once upon a time, Jack Murphy Stadium. Then it was named Qualcomm Stadium. And then the Padres moved downtown to Petco. Ground ball smothered by Tommy Medica, and from his knees makes the play. Nice play by Tom. Take a hit away from Gonzalez. And one thing, by building Petco Park, it has revitalized downtown San Diego. Quite an attractive area nearby with restaurants called the Gaslight. So Medica gets Gonzalez. We have 1 out in the 4th, and Matt Kemp coming up. Matt with an 8-game hitting streak, hitting .450 during that streak, grounded to 3rd in the 2nd inning. Had a base hit his first at bat last night to extend the streak, but he's 0 for 4 since, and a strike, 0-1. Matt overall batting average .274, 7 home runs, 28 runs batted in. Low fastball, 0-2. Down and dirty. New ball put in play. 1-2 the count. Tyler Ross, big man out of Oakland, 6-6. 0-1 against the Dodgers, 0-2 lifetime. Tyson pitched against the Dodgers way back April 2nd. Throws that thing away. In that game, he went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, 3 of the 4 earned, struck out 7, and lost the game 4-1. Two and 2 to Matt Kemp. Fouled away. That got a little bit of Rene Rivera. Got him on the right forearm. Bounced up and got him. Not quite as bad as being hit flush on, but nevertheless. 2-2. So Matt Kemp all of a sudden has 1 hit in 6 at bats and has struck out 4 of the 6 times. For Tyson Ross, the 2nd strikeout. He got Gordon leading off the game. Andre Ethier coming up. He grounded to 3rd, 0 for 1. Fastball in there. Good fastball at 94. Of course, when you look at Tyson Ross, you expect to see 94s at least. He is a rather formidable looking pitcher, especially on that 10-inch mound. 1 ball, 1 strike. Did you know when they first started to play this magnificent game we all love, there was no mound. There was what was called the pitcher's box. That's why when you read an account or you even hear somebody say base hit through the box or back to the box, there was a box. It was a rectangle, almost a square, and believe it or not, the pitchers way back could run up and then throw the ball as long as they stood inside the box. Well, meanwhile, Andre Ethier strikes out. Down go the Dodgers. They're boxed in, but they're leading 2-0. Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. And by Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box for the new Jalapeno Ranch or Barbecue Ultimate Cheeseburgers at participating restaurants. A seascape before we escape back into baseball at Petco Park. 2-0 Dodgers. Everett Cabrera, Seth Smith, and Tommy Medica. And 1 ball and no strikes to Cabrera, who walked in the first inning and was thrown out trying to steal. Cabrera has stolen 13 out of 20. That's a little low. Ball 2. Dodger corners are up. Turner's on the grass. Gonzalez almost even with the bag at first. Ethier pretty deep. Big bouncer up the middle. So Cabrera singles to Santa to open up matters in the 4th inning. Cabrera in last night's game was 0 for 4, but then had the big sacrifice fly to win it. So a high chopper over Beckett into center. And the batter now will be Seth Smith. Hit number 2 for the Padres. Seth Smith struck out in the first inning. Beckett got him on the outside part of the plate. Dodger problem with him last night. They were pitching him in, and he homered twice. And he picks up the outside corner again, so it's a different kettle of fish tonight. No balls and 1 strike to Seth Smith. Dodgers lead 2-0. We have 2 Valentins coaching at first. Jose Valentin, who actually played briefly for the Dodgers back in 05. And of course John Valentin, who's the Dodger coach at first tonight. 0-2, and that was off speed and away. Take a look. You got to stay out there. Big slow curve. You dare to come inside on him, and he will do what he did last night. Now you can't just live out there. Occasionally they're going to have to come up and in and drive him off the plate, but that's the area you want to pitch Seth Smith away. Another curveball, short hop by Ramirez to Gordon. The off-balance throw is on a bounce. No play at first. So Smith hits the ball hard. Hanley turns it into a force play, and that's that. So 1 away, and Tommy Medica coming up. Hanley to Gordon. The off-balance throw offline. One away. Tommy Medica flied to right field in the second inning. Tommy hitting .250. Medica, as a younger player, was pretty much of a strong-armed catcher, but he had shoulder problems and surgeries, so he couldn't throw that well, and they put him at first base. Smith taking his lead on a strike to Medica. No balls and 1 strike. Slow change. Medica way out in front of it. Beckett with over 2,000 innings under his belt. So you're looking at a veteran pitcher indeed. There's that change. 72 miles an hour. Remember when he pitched his no-hitter, Beckett made 128 pitches. I mean, he's got a lot of bulldog in him. Breaking ball, and that takes care of Medical. That's, well, wait a minute. Did get a piece of it. So Medic is still there. Breaking ball, and just nudged it. So it's still 0-2. And a fly ball to shallow left field. Kemp a long way to come, but makes the catch. Hanley Ramirez went out, but Matt was able to catch up to it. So 2 down, and Rene Rivera coming up. So Cabrera opened up with a single. Smith hits into a force play. Medica a fly ball. Dodgers lead 2-0 here in the bottom of the 4th. Beckett has made 50 pitches. Rivera hitting .217. Rene originally signed with the Mariners in 2001. As we mentioned, he's from Puerto Rico. Fastball, 0-1. Mariners drafted him out of high school, and 3 years later he was up with the Mariners. Then he went down to the minor leagues 2007 and stayed there for about 5 years before surfacing with Minnesota. And then he came over to Rivera, came over here last year. 0-1. Another fastball, 0-2. For Rivera, life changed dramatically right after the season last year. His wife presented him with twins. Twin girls. 0-2. Off speed, fly ball. Kemp on the run, picks it off. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. And at the end of 4, Dodgers 2, Padres 0. Josh Beckett. Ross, the ground ball pitcher, has allowed 2 fly balls, and 1 cost him a run. That was a fly ball by Ramirez that picked up Gordon. Justin Turner, a little unhappy on one of the calls by the plate umpire Ted Barrett. Then hit the ball hard, lined it slightly to right center, and it was run down by Will Venable. Justin saying something that makes Ted Barrett smile, so they're back even again. In the dirt, ball one. Pretty good fastball. Evens up the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. A little while ago we were talking about the mound, which is supposed to be 10 inches high. Ground ball into right field. There are always those who claim they don't measure the mound all the time, but we do know back around 1968, that's when Bob Gibson had that incredible year, the mound was about 15 inches high. It was 5 inches higher, and maybe even more if they didn't watch carefully. And that's a tremendous advantage for the pitcher to be able to pitch downhill. But the pitching took over during Gibson's time so much that they were afraid that the games were getting dull. So they cut the height of the mound back down to 10. That's a strike. But imagine when the game first started, it would be like cricket. You know, the bowler in cricket runs, hurls overhand, and the batter is trying to hit the ball on a bounce. Well, in the old days, the pitcher could run. He couldn't go over the box. He had to stay in the box. But what a different game that was. By the way, if you have a chance to go to the Ronald Reagan Library, of course, any time is a great opportunity, but if you can go between now and early September, there is a remarkable baseball exhibit there. With the runner going, pitch in the dirt, the throw down and into second base. Did he hold on? Yep, he did. So Justin Turner winds up advancing to second. We will see how they rule that. But Turner's at second base anyway. It'll be a wild pitch. The throw was on the wrong side of the bag. Peterson had to go over to the shortstop side and try to get back. No chance. So the Dodgers leading 2-0, have a runner at second, nobody out. Drew Butera up there, no balls, 2 strikes. Just did get a piece of that thing. No balls, 2 strikes. Butera singled and scored back in the 3rd inning. Single, sacrifice, and Gordon's base hit picked him up. Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits. Padres no runs, 2 hits. 5th meeting between the 2 teams. They're 2-2. One ball and 2 strikes. Hard to believe. Here we are, 21st of June, officially the first day of summer. We haven't seen San Diego at Dodger Stadium, and they're not going to be there till almost the middle of July. And that's going to be hit to shallow left center. Nice play by Venable, who runs very well. So Butera, who dropped a single to center in the 3rd inning, out this time as Venable catches up to it. That'll bring up Josh Beckett. Beckett has 4 hits this year, all singles. He has 2 runs batted in. He sacrificed in the 3rd inning. He's had 3 sacrifice bunts. And you have that man Gordon on deck. Beckett's going to show bunt. The infield is back, and he takes ball 1. So let's see if that sells the bunt. Nope. Medica goes deep at first, and Amarista wide and off the grass. 1 ball and no strikes. Showing bunt. Tried to bunt. Pulled it back just in time. They're going to check. No bunt. So 2-0 the count. And yet they still can't sell it. Medica way back at first. Amarista in a normal position. Outfield shallow, especially Smith in right field standing just beyond number 19. Strike, 2-1. Tony Gwynn, who has a statue here whose number was retired. Now the number emblazoned in right field. There'll be memorial services here at Petco Park on the 26th, honoring the great Gwynn. Foul back. 2-2 the count. Beckett checking with Lorenzo Bundy. Turner is at second, 1 out. We're in the 5th inning. Dodgers leading 2-0. Cabrera at shortstop trying to take a step or two away from Turner. Beckett again going to show bunt. Fouls it back, so he has struck out. So 2 down, and the batter will be D. Gordon. What an inning D had in the top of the 3rd. He came up with Drew Butera at second base, and then the magic began. First of all, Gordon hit a breaking ball by the shortstop Cabrera that cashed in Butera. The D wasn't finished. Then he steals second, and when the ball bounces away from Peterson, he's at third. And then Ramirez fly ball to shallow center. Gordon at it again and arrives home. So D now trying to pick up Justin Turner with 2 out. Ball 1. D. Gordon, 2 home runs, 22 runs batted in, playing dazzling second base and hitting .279. 1 ball and no strikes. Turner, who led off with a single, went to second on wild pitch, still out there. Since he's had a leg problem, you don't expect that Turner's running that well. That's ball 2. Took Justin a while to loosen up that calf. Two out, 5th inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Gordon with Ramirez on deck. Fastball, foul, 2-1. Hyun-Jin Ryu and Eric Stokes tomorrow here at Petco. Padres averaging 25.5, and thanks to a lot of Dodger fans, a much bigger crowd tonight and probably again tomorrow. 2-1. Amarista on the edge of the grass. Everybody else normal depth. In the dirt. 3-1 the count now. Of course, with a runner at second base, Ross has to be very careful with his wild pitch in this inning. He has now made 7 wild pitches. But of course, Ian Kennedy made 2 wild pitches last night. Kennedy has made 10 wild pitches. Ian got some brilliant defensive work last night. And that's ball 4. Well, Gordon gets the walk, but he has nowhere to run with Turner at second. Bud Black checking his notes. Hanley Ramirez doubled to right. He was tied up and hit one over first base for the double. Then in the 3rd inning, he had a sacrifice fly. It was a fly ball to somewhat shallow center, but only somebody like D. Gordon would have dared to come in, and Gordon was able to beat Venable's throw. Fastball, or at least close to his fastball. That was 87. Most of the time when he rears back and lets it go, it's 94. He's basically a 2-seamer, fastball, then the 4-seamer. He has a cutter, has a slider and a changeup. Slider's probably his best pitch. 0-1. Turner is second, 2 down, 0-1 to Hanley. Gordon at first, and Ramirez with the count, no balls, 1 strike. Dodgers burned last night. At one time, they were leading 5-1 in the 5th inning, and all of a sudden, they just didn't do anything. After the 5th inning last night, the Dodgers did not have a hit until the 9th. And the game got away in the bottom of the 9th. So they've been burned. Seth Smith, of course, 2 home runs and a huge double. So tonight, the Dodgers had best not take things for granted. Not saying they did when Dan Herron was pitching. 0-1. 0-2. Ramirez has struck out 47 times. Matt Kemp leads the club. Kemp has struck out 67 times. Gordon, Turner, waiting. Fouled away. Still 0-2. We mentioned earlier that Ross prefers to pitch to Rene Rivera. And of course, in this day and age, maybe they've done it for a long time. They actually give the catcher an earned run average while he is catching that particular pitcher. Last night, Yasmani Grandal caught Kennedy, but Rivera has an earned run average of 2.9 when handling Ross. So he's in there. 0-2 to Hanley Ramirez. One and 2. He's made 22 pitches in the inning. That's the most he's labored in innings so far. Had an easy second inning, made only 7 pitches. 1-2. Off the plate with the fastball at 95. Boy, that appeared close, but with 2 strikes, Ramirez wouldn't bite. Rene hanging off the corner, and it is farther away than it appeared first time. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And ball 3. Dodgers 2 runs, 4 hits. Padres no runs, 2 hits. In the 5th. Rivera reminding everybody 2 out. On deck, Yasiel Puig. Three and 2. Dodgers ready to run. Turner from second, Gordon from first. There they go. And there's a line drive base hit into left center. Scoring easily is Turner. Gordon is to third. Hanley Ramirez comes up with his second hit, picks up his second RBI, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. Ramirez, a line drive, clean as a whistle base hit. Scoring easily is Justin Turner. D. Gordon flying around at third, and the batter will be Yasiel Puig. Cabrera with no play and a meeting at the mound. So the batter will be Yasiel Puig. Darren Balsley, the pitching coach, on his way back to the dugout, and Yasiel coming up. Puig grounded hard to third and then dribbled the ball back to the box. He is 0 for 2. He had 1 hit last night, but it was a very important hit at the time. On a 3-0 count, he singled a left to drive in 2 runs, but then the Dodger offense came to a complete stop, and San Diego caught up and won the game in the bottom of the 9th. So first and third, still 2 out. Puig hitting .322. No balls, 1 strike. Yasiel not up to much of late. He insists on playing. The Dodgers watching him very carefully as far as that left hip is concerned. Ground ball to short. Cabrera makes the feed, and that's that. However, the Dodgers pick up 1. And at the end of 4.5 innings, Ramirez single drives it in, and the Dodgers lead 3-0 on 5 hits. The Padres no runs, 2 hits. batted in, so he now has 44. That's the same number as Yasiel Puig has. So the Dodgers sitting on a 3-0 lead. Bottom of the 5th inning. Gobert followed by Amarista and then Peterson, and that's a strike. Gobert's had 2 at-bats in the big leagues, and he is 2 for 2 with 1 run batted in. Jake takes low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Padres traded the big guy Kyle Blanks to the A's. They got Jake off speed for a strike. Beckett throwing strikes. He's had only 1 3-ball count so far. Slow and away, 2-2. Top of the 5th inning over in Arizona. Giants 4, Arizona 2. We'll watch that closely for you. Giants lead the Dodgers by 4. 2-2. Another slow pitch swung on and missed. So Gobert strikes out. Beckett moving along nicely has now struck out 5. And the batter will be Amarista. Big late breaking slow curve. Alexi Amarista grounded to shortstop in the 2nd inning. Tim Stauffer begins to warm up in the San Diego bullpen. Tyson Ross has made 74 pitches in his 5 innings. Tyson with Darren Balsley, the pitching coach, talking to him, going over how to pitch to various hitters. Quick refresher. Comebacker whacked off the leg of Beckett. No play by Butera, and it's a base hit. So Beckett takes one off the leg, can't make a play. They might let him make a pitch to make sure he's okay. Beckett has discouraged that. Butera over to pick it up, and that's all. So 1-out single by Amarista, literally and figuratively off Beckett. That's the 3rd hit for San Diego, and the batter is Jace Peterson. Peterson struck out 3 times last night, struck out first at bat tonight. Ross on deck. 0-1. Peterson out of Louisiana, a 1st-round pick by the Padres back in 2011. Well, he got here in a hurry. Last year he was at Lake Elsinore. This year called up from El Paso. Ground ball. Gonzalez gets one. The return, no return. Beckett a little bit late getting there. So a 3-6 force play on Amarista, and the batter now will be Tyson Ross. Tyson Ross struck out in the 3rd inning. Big pitcher has 3 hits. He has struck out 10 times in 25 at-bats. Dodgers 3, Padres nothing. Bottom of the 5th inning, game 2 of the 3-game series. On 1. Dodgers have to get with it if they're going to keep what's been happening of late. Dodgers have either won or split 10 series in San Diego. They haven't lost a series down here since 2010. Pretty hard to split a 3-game series. If it's possible, the Dodgers would do it, I'm sure. 0-2 the count to Tyson Ross. Three runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 3 hits for the Padres. Little pop fly to Ramirez. No runs ahead, a man left. And at the end of 5, 3-0 Dodgers. Small town in Canada. It's just outside of Toronto. It's also the home of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And so on this day in Dodger history, Tim Wallach should be saluted and is entering the Canadian Hall of Fame. Tim had 2 Silver Slugger awards. He had 3 Gold Gloves. 5 times he was an All-Star for the Montreal Expos. He played in something like 1,767 games. So while the Dodgers are here in San Diego, we take the time to salute bench coach Tim Wallach on his induction into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Let's go back to this one. Dodgers holding on to a 3-0 lead. Tyson Ross ready to pitch with Adrian Gonzalez. 0-1. Of course, last night the Dodger offense went sound asleep when they scored in the 5th inning. We'll see about tonight. Bouncer up the middle. There goes Cabrera. Takes a base hit away from him. So Cabrera refusing to quit on that ball hit up the middle, and we have 1 away. So Gonzalez comes home, and he is 0 for 3. Last night, he had a double and a sacrifice fly. And here's Matt Kemp. Kemp singled off the glove of Alexei Amarista last night to drive in a run, but since then, he has struck out 4 times and grounded out. Ball 1. One ball and no strikes to Matt. 8-game hitting streak. Has a look, pays the price. Fouled away, 1-2. Last night the Dodgers scored 3 times in the 5th inning and then didn't make another sound until they got a base hit in the 9th inning. Don Mattingly hoping the ball club will stay offensive minded and add a few more. 1-2. Fastball hit the center, sinking for a base hit. Venable cuts it off, and Matt will hold on with a long single. So he's 1 for 3 tonight. That means he is now hitting in 9 straight. Just went down to get it and lines it to center. So a 1-out single brings up Andre Ethier. Andre last night 0 for 4, was robbed of a hit by Jace Peterson. Tonight he's 0 for 2, so looking for his first hit in the series. 0 for 6. Matt Kemp has stolen 5 out of 7. So that gives Ross something to think about. Outfield almost straight away. However, Venable, if anything, shades Ethier a little towards left center. Time was asked for by Ethier. So the gap slightly in right center. Gobert gives him all of straightaway left. Andre 3 home runs, 26 runs batted in. Off the plate, 1 ball and no strikes. Tyson Ross 6 wins, 6 losses. Dodgers beat him April the 2nd, and he is 0-2 in his young career. Kemp goes. The pitch, a strike, and the throw, got him. The tag by Cabrera. Nice, strong, accurate throw by Rene Rivera. So we have 2 down in the 6th inning as Rivera arrows one down there to Cabrera. So 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Andre Ethier. Good throw by the catcher. Fouled away. Cabrera was at the other end, remember. He was thrown out in the 1st inning by Drew Butera. So both ends of a tag. 1 and 2 to Andre Ethier. Fastball sliced to left center, but it's coming right to Gobert in left field. So no runs, 1 hit, man thrown out stealing, and at the end of 5.5 innings, 3-0 Dodgers. Sixth inning. Josh Beckett has made 66 pitches, and he prepares to pitch to the top of the Padre lineup. Will Venable, Everett Cabrera, and Seth Smith, all left-handed batters, although Cabrera is a switch hitter and can always turn around. 6 left-hand batters in the lineup against Beckett. 0-1. Venable grounded to second, struck out, 0 for 2. Off speed, little fly ball to right. Puig on the run. 1 out on the fly ball to right. What's ahead for the Dodgers? Well, there's one more game here in San Diego tomorrow. Hyun-Jin Ryu and Eric Stultz. Club then moves on, plays the Royals. 3 night games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Following the night game in Kansas City, they fly home and take the field Thursday evening at night against the Cardinals. And that's the beginning of what should be a dandy 4-game series. Followed by the Cleveland Indians. Cardinals having some problems. They're second place behind Milwaukee. They've lost 3 in a row. The Dodgers' great opponent in the National League Championship Series, and they should pick up where they left off. 1 ball and 1 strike to Cabrera. Everett walked, singled. 1 for 1, thrown out trying to steal. That'll go foul out of play. 1 and 2 the count. Cabrera has had a couple of good years for San Diego. He's never been a big hitter by any means, but he has hit as high as 283 last year in 95 games. Time. Cabrera from Nandame, Nicaragua, about an hour away from Managua. No baseball. He grew up playing with a tennis ball. Eventually signed with the Rockies in 2004. He answered an ad in the newspaper. They had an ad saying try out for the Colorado Rockies. Got there, did not impress anybody with his size. He's only 5'10", but then he ran the 60 yards in about 6'7", threw better than average, so they decided to sign him and see what would develop. Pokes one, backhanded by Turner, long throw, nice stretch by Adrian. So good play all around. 2 down in the 6th inning, and that'll bring up Seth Smith. It'll be interesting now, 3rd time around. Dodgers burned last night because they pitched in on Seth Smith, and he had 2 home runs, a walk, and a double. Tonight, Beckett has been pitching away. Smith struck out in the 1st inning, grounded out in the 4th. Dodgers put a shift on, load up the right side. Hanley Ramirez all alone on the left. They move Turner the other side of second base. 0-1 the count. Seth with 8 home runs, 4 against the Dodgers. Well, he came inside on that pitch. 1-1. Smith started tonight 291. He's hitting 288. And away. 2-1. By the way, talking about the Cardinals, Adam Wainwright just beat the Phillies and Cole Hamels 4-1. A hard throwing reliever Rosenthal came in and got the save. Beckett now behind, 3-1 to Seth Smith. Tommy Medica on deck. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. They've left 3. No runs, 3 hits, 1 error. Padres have left 3. That's in there, outside part of the plate. 3-2 to Seth Smith. Fastball low. Second walk given up by Beckett. And with 2 out, Tommy Medica coming up. Medica, a fly ball hitter, flied to right, flied to left. 0 for 2, hitting .247. Smith short lead at first. Slow breaking ball for a strike. Seth Smith does not do a lot of base running. He has one stolen base, but he's also been caught once. On 1 to Medica, the boy from San Jose. Beckett slider down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. When you think about it, Beckett has done remarkably well after his physical problems last year and the resultant operation. That's a strike. He had that thoracic outlet syndrome where they had to remove an upper rib that was compressing nerve tissue near the neck and shoulder. Way back in 2007, in the month of April, Josh Beckett won 5 games in April, becoming only the 3rd Red Sox pitcher to do that. Fastball missed. 2 of the other 2 pitchers, well, Pedro Martinez and Babe Ruth. Smith at first, 2 outs, 6th inning. Dodgers lead 3-0. High fly ball down the left field line. Kemp just about there now and makes the catch. So no runs, no hits, a man left at the end of 6, 3-0 Dodgers. Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box for the new jalapeno ranch or barbecue ultimate cheeseburgers at participating restaurants. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. At Petco Park, we go to the 7th inning. The Dodgers are leading 3-0. A lot of Dodger fans here tonight. And boy, were they vocal back in the 3rd inning. And of course, there are Padre fans as well. By the way, they are now in the top of the 6th inning in Arizona. Giants 5, Arizona 4. At one time the Giants led 4-0. The starting pitchers in that game were Vogelsong and McCarthy. Ball 1 to Justin Turner. Lined out to center, single to right, and scored a run. Three runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 3 hits for the Padres. Fastball low, 2-0. Ground ball deep short. Cabrera winds up, got a great arm. 1 away. And the batter will be Drew Butera, who singled and flied to center, 1 for 2. Butera also threw out Everett Cabrera in the first inning. Ball 1 with the fastball. When the Padres come up in the 7th, they're due to send up Rivera, Gobert, and Amarista. If anybody gets on, the second baseman Peterson. So Ross is due to bat 5th in the 7th inning. Ball 2. Tyson Ross, 6'6", well over 200, about 230. 27 years old. And a high fly ball into left center and deep. Gobert going back and picks it off nicely. So the rookie playing left field. When they first brought him up from El Paso, they were saying he would alternate with Tommy Medica at first base. But he's making his debut in a starting role as a left fielder, and he handled that one very well. 2 down. Josh Beckett, sacrifice, struck out trying to bunt. 0 for 1 and a strike. Josh so far has made 85 pitches. When he pitched his no-hitter, he made 128. In a hole now. No balls, 2 strikes. Fastball, but he missed. On deck, D. Gordon. Dodgers scored 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 5th. So far, the Padres have not gotten a man to second base. Two balls and 2 strikes to Josh Beckett. Looking at strike 3. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 7th, and we're heading to the bottom of the 7th, 3-0 Dodgers. Getting to the bottom of the 7th inning, Josh Beckett has made 85 pitches. He is leading 3-0, and he'll be pitching to the catcher, Rene Rivera, the left fielder, Jake Gobert, and then the third baseman, Alexei Amarista. Tyson Ross made 12 pitches to retire the Dodgers in the 7th, so he's made 96. And here we go. The Padre bullpen they're going to get somebody up, so they're thinking ahead of batting for Ross. And that's a strike. 0-1 the count. Alex Torres, a left-hander, loosens up now in the San Diego bullpen. 0-1 the count to Rivera. Ground ball, foul. No balls, 2 strikes. Padre catcher twice has hit fly balls to left field. Rene Rivera. Rivera, before spring training, I guess he weighs 230, but before spring training he dropped 25 pounds. So he was really a big man. Came to Puerto Rico, or from Puerto Rico to the United States when he was 17. Got a very good arm. Fastball sprayed foul down the right field line, deep in the lower deck. A big, highly enthusiastic Saturday night crowd here at Petco. You almost think half and half as far as San Diego and the blue crew of the Dodger fans. 1-2 the count. All sizes, all shapes, and all into it. Slow curveball. Still 1-2. One girl tossing the ball to the other. Oh, a sequined hat. All right. Fastball. So Rivera's getting the whole store, and it's still a 1-2 count. One thing, of course, with the foul balls, Beckett is made to work that much harder. Fastball away and got him. So Beckett got that fastball outside of the strike zone, and Rivera went after it. 6 strikeouts for Josh. And the batter will be Jake Gobert. Jake singled to center, struck out, doing a good job in left field, although he's listed as a first baseman. He was supposed to play first, played a lot of outfield at El Paso. Jake will be 27 late in September. Bounced. 1-1. Slow breaking ball, maddening for the hitter as it drops in. 1-2 the count. So for Gobert, he's getting quite an education. Strikes out a second time. That's 7 strikeouts for Josh Beckett. Bad breaking ball. So Amarista coming up, grounded to short and singled off Beckett's leg in the 5th inning. Beckett's always wanted to be a major leaguer. In fact, His mom, Lynn, has a record of it. She has a card that he made, and he was either in second or third grade. And on the card, his ambition was wanted to be a major leaguer. Big turn, but a hold by Amarista on his base hit. And the batter is Jace Peterson. So Amarista 2 for 3 tonight. Alexei last night had a double, a walk, and a single. Peterson struck out, hit into a force play. It was a ground ball to Adrian Gonzalez, who threw down to Ramirez and got a force. Carlos Quentin, who has a bad knee, was able to come off the bench last night and pinch hit a solid double to drive in a run. He's on deck. Slow breaking ball. Boy, he's a master of that. Just drops it in there. 0-1. So Quentin waits. Beckett, of course, has so much experience. Go back to the 2003 World Series, Game 6. He's pitching in Yankee Stadium. Goes the distance. 5-hit shutout. Beat Andy Pettitte 2-0. Fastball, 1-1 the count. The Marlins needed a victory to win the title, and it was Beckett who gave it to them. One ball and one strike. Dodgers now get Brandon League up. 100 pitches for Beckett. Although he did have the 128 when he was pitching his no-hitter, they wouldn't let him come close to that again. In fact, outside of the 128, he had 3 games in a row where he had 100, but he hasn't come close since the 128. Wrinkles in again. 1-2. Beckett's dad is a mechanical engineer, and Josh is just trying to engineer a victory. He might be 4-4, but he is 3-1 on the road. 5-2 lifetime against San Diego. One ball and 2 strikes. Slow curveball. Peterson strikes out a second time. So the rookie second baseman has struck out 5 times in the 2 games as Beckett winds up striking out the side. Beckett number 3, so they leave Amarista, and it's still 3-0 Dodgers. 8th inning, and they are here. We were talking earlier, they're averaging 25,000 a game. Last night the Dodgers arrive here, they draw 31,000, and tonight you can almost say this crowd is half Dodger, half Padres. The paid attendance tonight 43,474. In fact, as we mentioned at the time, back in the 3rd inning, the Dodger fans were overwhelming as they were cheering the Dodgers when the club scored 2. So it's a big crowd on a wonderful Saturday night in San Diego. Don't forget, be sure to share the enjoyment and the excitement at Dodger Stadium when we get home. 4-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals and 3 with the Cleveland Indians. The Indians are only 3 back of Detroit, so they'll be bearing down as well. Alex Torres, left-hander, coming out of the pen. In looking at his helmet, in the old days they used to have little, before the actual helmet, they had inserts, and it looks like he has protective inserts, at least that, inside his helmet. A strike to D. Gordon. In the Dodger bullpen, since Beckett has made 102 pitches, Brian Wilson loosening up. And he's being joined now by Paul Maholm. Breaking ball away. Alex Torres, 5'10", 175. He's from Venezuela. He was originally signed by the Angels. Never made it to the big club, and eventually came to the big leagues with the Rays. Left Tampa Bay to join San Diego this year. D. Gordon struck out, singled, stole second, and eventually scored in the 3rd inning, walked, and got as far as 3rd base in the 5th. So he's knocked in 1, scored 1. Beckett talking to Herron, a couple of veterans. 3-1 the count, and Clayton Kershaw listening. Beckett and Herron have been around a long time. They have to beat you with guile. A lot of off-speed stuff, the occasional fastball. They're both on the money with that. And then, of course, there is Clayton Kershaw, who is beyond all of that. 3-2. And a high fastball, and Gordon is aboard. And immediately the crowd figures that Gordon will be up to his old tricks. Don't forget, Thursday, Dodgers opening a 4-game series with the Cardinals, and the first 50,000 fans in attendance receive a Brian Wilson bobblehead presented by San Manuel Indian Bingo and Casino. Buy your tickets today at Dodgers.com/promotions. So Maholm and Wilson down in the pen, and here's Hanley. Double to right, sacrifice fly in the 3rd, singled in the 5th, has driven in 2 runs. And Gordon going to try and wreak havoc now on Alex Torres. Fouled away. D. Gordon has a lot of stolen bases, 39, but as good as he is and as good as a superior base runner is, it's very difficult to steal on a left-hander. So there's quite a battle here. Also, I'm sure Gordon is not familiar with Torres, but he's probably read a scouting report on him. Torres off the rubber. The old story, Gordon wants to see a couple of his moves without getting picked off. Well, he read that one. Torres has a lot of pitches. Two-seam fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and a very good left arm. Very aggressive, very confident, highly competitive. Gordon asking for time. Let's see what he's doing. I wonder if he hurt himself a little bit. All right, whatever it was, he's over it. 0-1 the count to Hanley Ramirez. Gordon with a pretty good lead. And Torres off the rubber. Once D. Gordon's right foot is anywhere close to the point of where the grass is cut, it's not quite there, but almost. Pretty hard for Torres to pitch to the plate. Boy, there's so much to it if you're a pitcher in the big leagues. You don't just have runners, you have runners like Gordon. And you have the big hitters. And he has to contend with Gordon and Ramirez, Puig, and Gonzalez. Now Gordon, that right foot is almost at the point. Torres just staring. He was way off target. He was kind of looking at Gordon on that pitch. 2-1 to count to Hanley Ramirez. Two balls and one strike. This is the battle within the war. Foul ball out of third down the line. 2-2 the count to Hanley Ramirez. Dodgers against left-handers, left-hand starters anyway, are as perplexing as every other area of what they have done this year. They are home against starters left-handed, 4-7. Go out on the road against left-hand starters, 7-1. Two and two. And again off the rubber. Dodgers are 2 games under 500 at home and 7 games above 500 on the road, which is not the way it's usually done. Gordon with a grin, facing the challenge by Alex Torres. Fouled at the plate. Still 2-2. So Gordon looking over at John Valentin for the moment. Now back on the bag. Don Mattingly probably gives Gordon the green light to run just about all the time. And Gordon's not about to just run, leading 3-0. But what Torres does, everything is quick and short. Hard to read him. He read him easily. He was going back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. When they talk about a left-hander having a great move to first, what they're really saying, he is shaving the balk rule. The better the move, the closer to the balk. of that going on. Hanley Ramirez strikes out. So 1 away. Hanley's going to take his time before getting back to the dugout. In fact, he's only halfway to the dugout and Puig's in the batter's box. For Torres, with an ERA of 1.8. 26 strikeouts, 13 walks. And Hanley finally, grudgingly, goes back into the dugout. So here's Puig with a little 5-game hitting streak on the line. Grounded to third, hit back to the box, hit into a force play, ground ball to Cabrera. Off speed, big swing. Puig had 1 hit last night, 1 for 4, so 1 for 7 in the series. Well, the battle's going on with 1 out between Gordon and Torres. Almost threw it away. Good play by Tommy Medica. No balls, 1 strike, 1 out, 8th inning. Dodgers lead 3-0. Torres, all that fussing was not on the rubber. Now he is. And a strike. So with all the looking and the posturing, he not only struck out Ramirez, Gordon is still at first, and he has 2 strikes on Puig. I don't have any notes on him whereby he suffered some head injury, but he is definitely wearing some kind of a protective gear under that cap. Wouldn't blame him. One and 2. Alex Torres out of Venezuela led the league in strikeouts, led the International League with strikeouts. Fastball has been clocked as high as 92, with generally anywhere from 86 to 92, and meanwhile trying to keep Gordon at first. Gordon bluffs pitch in the dirt. I'm not sure if that was a bluff as much as Gordon wasn't quite sure. Started to go. He's looking over towards the bench. That was a pretty good bluff if that's all it was. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, that runs the count all the way with Puig. Adrian Gonzalez waiting on deck. Gonzalez, like many of the Dodgers, has had a lot of problems. He's hitting 177 against left-handers. So 3-2, 1 out. Let's see if Gordon runs. Yep. And ball 4. So Puig gets the walk. Dodgers have first and second, 1 out. And here comes Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian tonight, 3 ground balls against Tyson Ross. Tyson Ross certainly lived up to the fact that he is a ground ball pitcher in his 7 innings. Looking quickly through the book. 1, 2, 3. 21 outs in 7 innings. Only 3 hit in the air. Tim Stauffer, veteran right-hander, throwing now in the bullpen. Matt Kemp on deck, and Stauffer warming up in a hurry. Makes you think he's getting ready for Matt Kemp. Should Torres lose Gonzalez. 2 on, 1 out, 3-0 Dodgers, 8th inning. Torres still bothered by D. Gordon, and with Adrian Gonzalez, a left-hand hitter, Amarista, the third baseman, is way beyond the line and the bag. So for Gordon, the door is open a little bit. So Torres really trying to fight his way out. He's in a jam. 2 on, 1 out. Watching Gordon. And Adrian probably smokes it to center for a base hit. Here comes Venable's throw. Here comes Gordon, and it's cut off. So Adrian Gonzalez, a line drive single to center. Gordon scores. Dodgers lead 4-0. Tommy Medico, the first baseman, cut the ball off at the mound, so there was no chance to get Gordon. They conceded the run. And for Adrian, a base hit and an RBI against a left-hander, that's a little music to his ears. So Gordon brings it in. The throw cut off. Stopping at second was Puig. Now here's Matt Kemp, and we thought they were hurrying Tim Stauffer up, but you know the pitcher spot is due up in the bottom of the 8th, meaning Torres. So maybe they're hoping that Torres can get 2 more outs and then hit for him. 0-1 to Matt. Grounded out, struck out, single to center. He has a 9-game hitting streak, 1 for 3. D. Gordon talking to Davey Lopes. You know about what? And that's the move to first base. And Davey giving a little bit of a lecture. And coming from Davey, it's well worth listening. 0-1. Fastball missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tim Wallach, as we mentioned earlier, is at St. Mary's in Ontario, just outside of Toronto, the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So last night and today and maybe tomorrow, Davey Lopes is the bench coach. John Valentin is at first base. Lorenzo Bundy is at third. 1-1 to Matt Kemp. 4-0 Dodgers in the 8th. Pick off, but no cover. Tell you one thing, Puig was worrying about a throw. Self-preservation. Shaking his head. Four runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 4 hits for San Diego. Padres have been shut out 5 times at home and 11 times so far this year. 1-2 the count to Matt Kemp. Hanley Ramirez, I think, is still trying to figure out how he struck out in the 8th inning. One and two. Puig, good lead. Peterson trying to bird dog him a little bit. 2-2 the count to Kemp. Puig with the protective covering on the left hand and the gloves in the right hand to make sure he doesn't drag his hands. But it doesn't really make much difference anymore. They used to do that so you wouldn't drag your hands when you were sliding. But today they go head first. And down goes Matt Kemp. So for Matt, he's now struck out 5 times in the 2 games, but he still has a 9-game hitting streak as he walks away muttering the batter will be Andre Ethier. We were checking on Alex Torres' hat, and we got a report. He's trying it out. It's a new protective hat that just became approved by MLB. It protects the temples up to 95 miles an hour. He's never been hit before to their knowledge. As I mentioned, I have no notes where he'd suffer any injury, but why not try it out? Big chopper to the right side. So when it's all said and done, the Dodgers wind up getting a run, leaving 2, and at the end of 7.5 innings, Dodgers 4, Padres nothing. Had doubled, he had a sacrifice fly, he had a single, and when he struck out in the 8th inning, he just couldn't believe it. It took him forever to get back in the dugout, and he's still swinging that imaginary bat. Miguel Rojas, who has sparkled at third base, is going to move over and play shortstop. Ramirez comes out. Justin Turner stays at third, and Paul Maholm will be coming in to face the pinch hitter. Looks like Cameron Maybin. Ross followed by Torres, and Maybin followed by Venable, and then Cabrera. Cameron Maybin played center field last night, went 0 for 4. Hit a long fly ball to right. Cameron hitting .270. So Paul Maholm, who hasn't pitched much of late, is asked to get a couple of outs. And a strike. Last night, the Dodgers were still leading, and in the inning when they brought Jansen in, there were 3 left-hand hitters. Amarista, Peterson, and Venable, and the Dodgers had Mahalam warming up, and then he stopped. We thought he was going to come in, and they brought in Kenley Jansen, and Kenley just didn't have it. So Mahalam is here maybe a day late, working on Cameron Maybin. For Paul Mahalam, the last game was Sunday against Arizona. Good ERA in relief, but right now he gives up a line drive base hit. Puig overruns the ball, and Maybin with his speed is on his way to third, and he is in there standing up. So we'll see if it's a double and an error or a triple, but one way or another, Cameron Maybin is at third base. It's going to go as a triple since the ball hit the wall. We tried to cut it off, and it squirted on by him. So, of course, immediately you're thinking about last night. Last night, in the ninth inning, there were two big doubles, and the inning before there was a double. So in the last two innings last night, there were three doubles. And now here they open up the eighth tonight with a triple. Cameron Maybin and Chris DeNorfia will bat for the left-hander Venable. DeNorfia last night made two splendid plays defensively. He really helped Ian Kennedy. With the bat last night, however, he was 0 for 3. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Brandon League begins to warm up. 4-0 Dodgers. San Diego for the first time has a runner at third. That's hit right at shortstop Rojas. So DeNorfia lines out to short, 1 out, and the batter will be the switch hitter Cabrera, who will turn around and bat right-handed. Cabrera had walked, single, grounded out, batting left-handed. Cabrera hitting .220 left-handed, .232 right-handed. He has 3 home runs, 2 hit left-handed. 1 ball and no strikes. 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. They've left 5. No runs, 5 hits, 1 error for San Diego. They've left 5. They did not have a runner get to second base through 7 innings. But they have Maybin with a triple at third here in the 8th. Cameron Maybin down the line. One and 2. Tough job being a reliever that sees occasional work. You go a week without work and they expect you to come in and throw strikes. Paul's problem, his control. Coming in, he had walked 22 and struck out 21. Breaking ball, great save there by Drew Butera. Mahalam has 2 wild pitches. Here's Cabrera. There's the pitch in the dirt, and a nice block by Drew. 2 balls and 2 strikes they count. Everett Cabrera on deck. Left-hand hitter Seth Smith. Fastball inside, 3-2 at 89. Three balls, 2 strikes. Got it. So Mahalam gets a big out, 2 down with the runner at third. And the batter now, the left-hand hitting Seth Smith. Mahalam, good sinking fastball, also has changeup, slider, and a curve. And they'll throw that change to left or right-hand hitters. Smith has struck out, hit into a force play, and walked. They're in the top of the 8th inning. Giants leading Arizona 6-4. It was 5-4. Hunter Pence hit a home run to give them the extra run. That's ball 1 to Seth. Dodgers really overshifting on Seth Smith against Mahalam. Rojas almost behind second base. 1-1. Beckett wound up with 8 strikeouts. Mahalam now picked up 1. Josh Beckett, with that command of the slow curveball, has struck out 3 times this year. Trying to win his 5th. More importantly, Beckett would be 4-1 on the road. On deck, right-hand hitting first baseman Tommy Medica. 2 out, bottom of the 8th, 4-0 Dodgers. Bud Black checking his notes with Dave Roberts. That's a little low. So Mahalam puts 2 men aboard with 2 out. And faces Medica, a fly ball hitter. Tommy is 0 for 3, all fly balls. And let's see, are they going to go to Brandon Lee? Batting lead up the steps and on his way out. Medica has flied to right, twice flied to left, and they're going to the bullpen. In fact, Mattingly gestured as soon as he came up out of the dugout. So we'll be right back. At bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. You'll get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audio, free MLB.TV game of the day, and so much more. Download on the App Store or visit Dodgers.com today. Brandon Lee relieving Paul Mahalam. Mahalam made 17 pitches, gave up the triple to Maben, got Denorfia and Cabrera, but walked Smith. So with a right-hand hitter, Tommy Medica, coming up, they bring in Brandon Lee, who pitched briefly last night. Lee came in the 7th inning last night, got DeNorfia and Cabrera, and he is asked to get Medica here in the 8th inning with 2 out. Tommy Medica 0 for 3, hitting .244, 3 home runs, 8 runs batted in. Three fly balls to right field and 2 to left. And the Dodger outfield pretty deep, although Puig is not that deep in right field. Fastball, ball 1. Brandon Lee, in his 31st game, earned run average 2.2, 13 walks, 22 strikeouts. And in a hole now, 2-0. On deck is the catcher, Rene Rivera. Pitch. Line drive, base hit to right field. Maben scores. Down to second goes Smith. And all of a sudden now, the Padres trying for another late inning recovery. And the batter will become technically the possible tying run. The Medica, a line drive single to right. The run is charged, Maben to Mahalam. Padres are on a run. Let's face it, they pulled out 2 games against Seattle in the 8th and 9th innings. Last night they pulled a game out in the 9th inning, and here they are trying to rally again. Rene Rivera, 2 fly balls to left, struck out, 0 for 3, with Smith and Medica out on the line. 2 out and the strike. So for 7 innings, the Padres could not get a man to second base. But that's when Beckett was out there. Now they score, and they have runners at first and second. Rene Rivera, the father of twin girls at the start of the year, up there now in a big spot. 1 ball, 1 strike. Of course, he's played a lot of pro ball. Rivera's been a pro since 2001. 1-1. 1-2. Josh Beckett turned in a tremendous 7 innings. Beckett walked 2, struck out 8, did not allow a run. One ball and 2 strikes. Rene 5'10", about 230. We told you he lost 25 pounds before spring training. He was really big. Foul ball behind Glenn Hoffman. The Padres are tough at home. They're a 500 ball club. Here at Petco, they are 19-19. On the road, Bud's club 10 games under 500. Dodgers successful at home, 2 games under 500 at home. 1-2. And that's going to go up the middle for a base hit. Here comes Smith to score. Medica to third. And the Padres making believers out of the crowd. They're rallying again. The Rivera single to center against Lee. Smith scores. So both Smith and Cameron Maben, those 2 runs are charged to Mahalam. The league comes in, gives up 2 hits, and the batter is the rookie Jake Gobert. So Beckett was great, Mahalam was questionable, and League now falling into the same category. Gobert singled and then struck out twice against Beckett. See what he does against another veteran, Brandon Lee. Jake from Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Dodgers 4, Padres 2. That's a strike, 0-1. Gobert appeared as a pinch hitter last night and had a key base hit to drive in a run. So he started tonight and singled his first at bat. Came back to earth, striking out the next 2 times. 1 ball and 1 strike. As we always do with a runner at third, Brandon Lee has 2 wild pitches. Now the Padre fans take over with a Beat LA chant. And that's a strike. Sinker around the knees. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Medica at third, Rivera at first. 4-2 Dodgers, 2 out in the dirt. Nice block by Butera. So the deuces are wild indeed. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. Dodgers lead by 2, 4-2. Padres and Dodger bullpens are busy. J.P. Howell throwing for the Dodgers. Stauffer and Street up now for the Padres. 2-2. And a one-hopper at short. Nice play by Rojas to get the 4s. Boy, they made the move at shortstop. And sure enough, a frustrated and somewhat angry League. But Rojas made it look simple, and that ball was hit hard. And he stayed with it and fed Gordon. Dodgers out of the jam. We go to the 9th. 4-2 Dodgers. veteran reliever Tim Stauffer will be coming in to pick up the pitching. Chris DeNorfia, who batted for Will Venable, stays in the game and takes over for Venable in center field. So Stauffer bats ninth. Tim, a veteran indeed. He's the fella you really never get tired of telling the story. You talk about an honest man, it's Tim Stauffer. Stauffer, when he was signing with the San Diego Padres, was offered an awful lot of money. And he said, I've got to be honest with you. I've had a shoulder problem. It cost him almost $2 million less than the signing bonus. Padres first offered $2.6 million, and Tim said, well, I've got this problem. So they said, thanks for telling us. Here's $750,000. Well, I mean, that's a lot of money, but boy, how honest are you to say the truth and lose $2 million? So you got to like him. Tim Stauffer out of Portland, Maine, and Saratoga Springs, New York. Signed with the Padres 2003, working on Justin Turner. Turner lined out to center, single to right, scored a run, grounded to short. Foul back. One thing for sure for Tim Stauffer, he will stop the running game. He has allowed, I believe this is accurate, since 2005, he's allowed 4 stolen bases, and at least 13 have been caught. 2-1 the count to Turner. Tim Stauffer, 6'1", 220. Just turned 32. Fastball hit down the line. Smith in pursuit. Can't make the play. Somebody throw that towel. Still 2-2 to Justin Turner. Turner hitting .295. On the hands, and he turns on it and singles to center. So Turner is 2 for 4. And the batter will be Drew Butera. Don't forget, tomorrow at 5 p.m. get connected. We bring you an exclusive one-on-one sit-down interview with Don Newcomb. He'll discuss the rivalry with the Giants during the 50s. Tune in for the premiere of Connected with Don Newcomb tomorrow at 5 on Sportsnet LA. Turner at first, Butera, and then the pitcher spot. And that's a strike. Remember, the Dodgers made a double switch, so the pitcher spot is occupied by Rojas. And Miguel out on deck. 0-1. And another strike. 0-2. Stauffer, good athlete, naturally baseball player, played basketball. He was also on the golf team, and he was also on the soccer team as well at high school in Saratoga Springs. Fouled away. Stauffer, good fastball, power curve. He throws a cutter, a very good changeup, and he also has a knuckle curve he could throw occasionally. No balls, 2 strikes. First came up to the Padres way back in 2005. Sinker chased and missed. Down goes Butera. And the batter will be Rojas. Miguel Rojas handling the tough play, that ball hit by Goldberg, turning it into a force play. Miguel hitting .296. He's had 27 at bats, 8 hits, 4 RBIs, and he has only struck out 4 times. Ball 1. In the Dodger bullpen, 2 big guys, Jamie Wright and Kenley Jansen. Jansen has struggled mightily last night. We'll see if they're going to bring him right back. Up to Mattingly. Fouled away. 1-1 to Miguel. Rojas in last night's game had a base hit in the 9th inning. Went 1 for 2. Foul back. Miguel actually has a tiny 3-game hitting streak. Wednesday he had that bases clearing double, his first career double. Say Wednesday, of course that was Kershaw Day. 1-2. Chases it, pays the price. So Rojas strikes out. 2 down in the 9th inning. Rojas struck out 5. Then Torrey struck out 2. Now Stauffer strikes out 2, so 9 Dodgers have bitten the dust. D. Gordon, the batter, and on deck Scott Van Slyke, hitting in the number 2 slot, occupied by the pitcher Brandon Lee. And that's going to go to left field and caught out there by Gobert. So Gordon, a fly ball. Dodgers are done. Top of the 9th. No runs, a hit. They leave a man. And now let's see about the bottom of the 9th. First of all, who's coming in? Of course. They went to the bottom of the 9th inning, leading by 2. Kenley Jansen came in, gave up a single to Amarista. Then he gave up a double to Carlos Quinton, who drove in a run. Then he gave up another double to Will Venable. That drove in the second run. And after the bunt, moving Venable to third, Cabrera hit the fly ball to right, and the Padres won the game 6-5. Well, Kenley has blown 4 saves, and they bring him right back tonight, again leading by 2 and again facing Amarista. Amarista, remember, single to center against them last night. First thing we want to really watch is the miles per hour on the pitch. Last night, Kenley Jansen opened up throwing 89, which is not at all like him. But let's see about tonight. Fastball cutter at 91. Let's see if he stays and goes up from 91. Ground ball to the right side. Gordon is on it. One away. The life of the closer. It is indeed, although perhaps it's a bad example, but it's somewhat like being on a bomb squad. Every time you come up and pitch, the game is on the line. And a mistake or two, there it goes. So that second pitch was 94. And now Yasmani Grandal hitting for Peterson, the young second baseman, who struck out 5 times in the 2 games. Ball 1 at 92. Carlos Quentin is on deck. Now behind 2-0. He's right there at 91. He's had 2 91s and a 94. And fouled away. That was 90. But remember when he first came to the Dodgers? Here's this big kid who was a converted catcher, and he was throwing 96, 97. Ground ball up the middle, smothered by Gordon, but the ball gets away from him. So not only is Grandal safe, but here comes Carlos Quentin representing the tying run. Be a base hit, of course. Not much Gordon could do diving at the ball. So again, it's the 4th straight game where the Padres rallying and at least have the tying run at the plate. Frustrated Gordon might have been able to get Grandal because the big catcher doesn't run that well, but the ball squirted away. Carlos Quentin has had a bad knee that's troubled him all spring, but he walked up last night and had a big double to left field. 0-1. He almost fell down. Quentin has only had 75 at-bats. Quentin against Jansen 1 for 2. And that last pitch was 94. 1 out, 4-2 Dodgers, 9th inning. Denorfia on deck. Quentin from Bellflower and Chula Vista went to Stanford University. And raises a fly ball, very playable. Puig is there. So 2 out. That was 94. The Kenleys dealing a bit here in the 9th inning. And Chris Denorfia coming up. Denorfia is 1 for 10 in the past against Jansen. Denorfia did not face him last night. 4 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 8 hits, and an error for San Diego. Dodgers left 6. Padres have left 7. Fouled away. 0-1. That was 93. foul back. Another thing about Jansen, he has changed from last night. He had gotten into the habit when he brought his hands together. They were together almost behind his right shoulder. That's an exaggeration, but almost. Today they were working with him before the game. Watch where his hands are now when he brings them together. Right there in front of the shoulder, not way back. Got him. So Kenley Jansen rides the emotional roller coaster, the heartbreak last night. His last pitch was 95 miles per hour. Look at that little guy. And Kenley gets a big hug from Adrian Gonzalez. Life feels better again. The beer always tastes better. The food tastes better. Jansen made 11 pitches, and I'm sure had a lot of confidence brought back. His mom and dad were here, I know, for yesterday's game, and I sure hope they